I didn't care what they took. I just wanted to make for sure that she wasn't hurt.
Unexpected visitor tonight. The homeowner speaks out.
McCaskill versus Aiken. We are live in St. Louis as the two wrap up their last go-ahead in the fight for the U.S. Senate.
And an update on the armed robbery at the Boone County Library. KOMU 8 News at 9 starts right now.
Live from Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News at 9.
It's their final debate before voters go to the polls in November. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Reed.
And I'm Christian Bryant. We begin with Smart Decision 2012 coverage tonight in St. Louis, where Senator Claire McCaskill and Congressman Todd Akin just wrapped up their debate. When he said McCaskill versus Akin is one of the country's most watched and anticipated Senate races of this year's election. KOMU 8's Mary McGuire is live in St. Louis right now. Mary, what did you hear from the candidates tonight?
That's right. I'm here in St. Louis at Clayton High School, where the U.S. Senate debate wrapped up just about an hour ago. Akin was actually a no-show to the post-debate press conference, members of his camp saying that it may or may not have had to do with the Cardinals game going on in St. Louis. Now, throughout the debate, McCaskill painted herself as a moderate compared to Akin's so-called extreme views, and Akin emphasized that he was for freedom, for governmental deregulation, and the cutting of bureaucratic red tape. Now, one talking point was education and federal student loans.
Claire McCaskill seems to think this is a crisis if you don't have everything done by the federal government. Just a year or two ago, there were student loans that were made by private lending institutions. Obamacare changed all of that. Do you have to be against college and student loans to suggest we don't have the federal government doing all of that for us?
What we did was say, you know, we don't need the middleman to take a cut. We're going to have them go directly to the students, not do deficit spending, save that money that the bankers were making administering those loans, and allow kids to get the loans directly from the schools. But what Congressman Akin has said is that the federal backing of those loans is a problem. And if that federal backing is not there, the private banks will not be making the loans.
Now, there was not a lot of back and forth between the two candidates, but there was some sparring over the $716 billion in Medicare cuts related to the Affordable Care Act. Akin claimed that McCaskill voted to cut that $716 billion and that he did not. McCaskill claimed that Akin voted to remove that same $716 billion to give people like Kim Kardashian tax breaks. Now, it's interesting to note that Akin's infamous comments regarding legitimate rape and pregnancy were not brought up once throughout the course of the debate. Reporting live in St. Louis, Mary McGuire, KOMU 8 News.
If you like fall weather, then you were loving today's weather. It was windy, it was cold, it was drizzly out there. And right now, take a look at live Doppler First Alert radar. And still some rain showers are moving in here and moving out. And that's going to be the case throughout the rest of your overnight hours, because we have a monster low pressure in control of our weather, and what that's going to do here is throw clouds our way, it's going to throw rain our way, and even some windy conditions. So we'll continue to see that overnight. Temperatures here at the 9 o'clock hour, most of us are in the 50s, a few 40s up to the north. And for the next few hours here, as we get into your overnight hours, rain continues until probably noon, and then those chances trail off, guys. So rain ends, but it's still going to be cold and windy tomorrow. The weekend looks better, though, and we'll talk all about it coming up.
Good. Thank you.
The Boone County Sheriff's Department is warning residents to think twice before opening their doors to complete strangers. This comes after a home invasion and an armed robbery yesterday.
Here's a look at the man arrested for this burglary. Around 1 this afternoon, deputies say Justin R. Campbell knocked on the door of a house saying his car broke down and he needed water. Deputies say he then forced his way into the home with a pistol. Campbell is also connected to a shooting in Columbia earlier that day.
The homeowner spoke to us today.
And KOMU 8's Jennifer Long tells us her story and how she's changing her mindset about home security.
Well, come on in. When it comes to her home, Amy Cohen won't say those words to just anyone now, not after what happened.
So many things rush through your mind as a parent.
Her world on Old Ridge Road changed quickly. Even though she wasn't there when an intruder forced his way in with a gun, she says she can't stand the thought of someone uninvited breaking into her home.
I will be taking a much different approach, and it saddens me that I can't be the hospitable person that I was brought up to be.
The guard dogs had the day off, tucked away in the back so not to bother the cleaning woman. Cohen says now it's all about moving forward.
We just need to have a different mindset and be proactive in protecting our homes.
And a detective at the Boone County Sheriff's Department gives this advice.
This isn't 30, 40 years ago when people didn't have cell phones. People can get help now by calling a cell phone. They don't really need to go up and knock on somebody's door.
Cohen says that's her plan the next time she gets a knock at the door.
I don't know them, they don't know me, but I'm not going to put my children in jeopardy and my home in jeopardy. I'm going to keep that door between me and the stranger that's on the other side.
And she urges others to do the same.
Campbell is in the Boone County Jail awaiting bond on assault and weapons charges.
Tonight, Columbia police are looking for the person responsible for holding a man at gunpoint at the Columbia Public Library and forcing him to drive to an ATM for money. KOMU8's Carl Roskamp is at the library with the latest.
Thanks, Christian. The library is a place where you would expect to feel safe. Now, I talked with people tonight, and they had mixed reactions about the robbery. Emotions ranged from indifferent to concern for their own safety. To recap the events, the victim left the library around 6:10 last night. Police say a man with a handgun approached him as he walked to his car. The robber forced the victim to drive to an ATM on Stadium Boulevard and withdraw money. The victim then dropped off the suspect near Wilkes and 7th Street, where he fled on foot. Several people I spoke to joked about something like this happening at the library, where most people aren't carrying much more than books.
A lot of people, people that don't have a lot of money. I come here because I can't afford to go to the movies. So, you know, it's odd.
Furl added that people should be more careful when going out at night. He says he'll think twice about letting his wife or his 2 daughters go out alone, and he might have a point because there are no cameras on the front side of the library. Reporting live in Columbia, Carl Roskamp, KOMU8 News.
Just one day after we broke the story of the Brookside Apartments lying to its renters about noise permits, new tenants are angry today because they didn't move in on time. The first thing new residents told us after being delayed from 9 a.m. until noon is that Brookside managers say they continued to drag their feet. That's when we showed up with a camera. Not long after, the complex gave residents a thumbs up to move in. This is the same complex that burned down in May while under construction.
Biggest worry is there's a lot of parents like myself here right now and that came in for the day just to move our kids in, and we found out that there's a chance they were going to be put up in a hotel, but we're like, what are we going to do with all their clothes because they're already out of their dorm.
MU's homecoming football game will kick off at 11 a.m. on October 27th, which means other homecoming festivities must begin early too. Precious Hearts Learning Center is one of the 170 entries that must line up for the parade by 5:30 in the morning. Staff at the Learning Center are building a float and making posters to carry in next Saturday's parade that begins at 7. Some businesses need to adapt to the time change, especially when young kids are involved.
There will be a group of us, teachers and staff, that get there with the float at the lineup time, and then we're going to not let our kids get to the lineup until about 10 till 7, till time right before the parade goes, just so that they can sleep longer and be able to get their morning routine.
There will be an informational meeting for all participants at the Reynolds Alumni Center a week from today.
Mark your calendars. The SEC announced Mizzou's 2013 football schedule this afternoon. Here's a list of the home games next season. Mizzou will host Murray State and Toledo early on. Then beginning in October, the Tigers host 3 conference opponents in a row. That would be Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Texas A&M comes to Columbia in November. Mizzou won't face cross-divisional rival Arkansas next season. The SEC says that series begins the following year.
Before, when we were in the Big 12, it was usually a 1 to 2 night stay. Now we're looking at a minimum to 3 night stays on occasion as well.
The Visitors and Convention Bureau echoed this, saying more visitors are spending more time in Columbia, exploring the city, and spending money at Columbia businesses.
Trains are trucking on as ridership numbers take off.
Coming up, why drivers are being more careful as well.
And trying to shoo the flu away this season, find out how much it'll cost you to get the flu shot.
And tomorrow will shape up much like today. We'll have all the details coming up next on KOMU 8 News at 9.
People come in all different sizes. That's why Slumberland invented the Any Size One Low Price mattress sale. Choose your size, you pay just one low price. Get a Sealy Medium Firm for just $99 each piece, only at Slumberland.
At Jacobs Realty, we've been providing Columbia with exceptional property